All right, hello everyone. So today I am going to help us figure out this Milestone 2 project that we have. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. I'm going to go into the learning module, into module number 4, which we're working on this week. So let's see. If we go down to the bottom is where we have our Milestone 2 quantitative and graphical analysis. So there are 2 documents that you will need to download for this. The first one is the McKinnon data instructions PDF, and then the second is the bird data Excel sheet. So I am going to be walking you through the instructions for the McKinnon data. So I actually won't be referencing this, but I will go ahead and download that bird data. So you will want to download it, okay? And then once it's downloaded, open it up. So this is exactly what it looks like once it's downloaded. Make sure you enable editing. Okay, so one thing you'll notice is at the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet, we have these different tabs, okay, and then they continue all the way over to the side. So we have Belma Pond, Gallon Jug, Coxcomb Basin, that one's spelled incorrectly, and then Punta Gorda. And you'll notice for each site, there's 2 tabs. There's one for the 15-mile circle, and then there's one that says McKinnon. So the 15-mile circle is those point count data, okay? So remember with the point count data, basically the observer stayed in one location for a certain amount of time, 10 minutes, and then recorded how many birds he or she saw or heard within that period of time. And then recorded them before moving on to another location and then doing the same thing again. So for example, at Belma Pond, they counted 23 of this particular species of bird called the American redstart, okay? 19 of the Baltimore oriole. So we won't be using this particular data, okay? So this data we actually already analyzed for you. So when you go into the diversity indices, basically that's this data that was uploaded into that past software program and calculated the diversity indices from that. So instead, in Milestone 2, we're going to focus in on the McKinnon data. So here is what the McKinnon data looks like for Belma Pond. So one thing you'll notice is we have a bunch of survey numbers, we have a bunch of different birds, and then it says survey number 1 through 15. So remember, going back to the McKinnon methods, basically what happened is the observer slowly walked through the area and identified 10 species, okay? So this was an untimed study. So the first survey, the observer just walked through and counted 10 species. And then once the observer reached 10, then he or she started the next survey. So next survey number 2, then he or she walked through until another 10 species were written down and so forth. So each survey has a total of 10 species, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out how many of the 10 are new, okay? So the first survey, all 10 are going to be new because this is the beginning of the survey. So every single species that were found are new to the list because there's only, 10 identified. But then in the second survey, we need to figure out how many more are new, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at the first survey. So to do that, you're going to click Survey, and we're just going to isolate it to just the first survey, okay? So these are the birds that were found in the first survey. And I actually like to color code them just because it makes it easier for me. So I'm just going to I'm going to highlight it, maybe this red color, okay? And then I'm going to click on just the normal, select all, and click OK. So you can see how basically when I did that, I only colored the first survey. So we can see that within the first survey of those 10 new species, we have the clay colored thrush, the collared aracarry, the great crested flycatcher, and so forth. Okay, so there should be 10 on this list that are highlighted this red color. Okay, so we need to figure out survey number 2. So with survey number 2, you're going to click that down arrow, unselect all, and then select just survey 2 and click OK. So here is a new list of birds. So let's go ahead and highlight them a different color. Okay, so I'm going to choose this yellow color. And then I'll go back to the survey, select all, and click OK. Okay, so now you'll notice I have the red color for the first survey and then the yellow color for the second. Okay, so we're going to try to figure out which of the colors are going to be new. Okay, so I can see already up here that this is a new bird, okay, because it's all alphabetized. So the black-headed saltiter is going to be a new species identified that was not found in survey number 1. So I'm going to count that as 1 new species. Okay, the dusty antbird we haven't seen before either, so that's going to be a 2nd new species. The dusky-capped flycatcher, that's going to be a new species. Okay, wasn't found in the first survey, so that's number 3. The groove-billed Annie is going to be number 4, so that's a new species. The masked titra is number 5. Let's see, we have Montezuma, number 6, northern bitbill, number 7. But look at over here, the ochre-bellied flycatcher we already saw in survey number 1, so we're not going to count that as a new species in survey number 2. So that will be skipped. So far we have 7 new species. Here's the number 8, short-billed pigeon. Number 9, wing-billed seed eater. Okay, so of the 10 that we identified in survey number 2, 9 of them are new. The only one that wasn't new was the ochre-bellied flycatcher. So I'm going to type in 9 for under number of new species for survey 2. Now watch what happens to the cumulative. So now we have a total of 19 species identified. Okay, so let's do it one more time. Let's go to survey number 3. So I'm going to go ahead and unclick select all and click survey 3. Click OK. Again, I'm going to highlight them a different color. I just kind of go with the rainbow colors. Okay. And then I go back to my survey, click select all, click OK. Okay, so let's see how many new species are found in survey number 3. So the brown jay has not been identified, so that's 1. The brown-hooded parrot, 2. Cannot count the dusky-captive flycatcher since that was already counted. So right now we just have 2. Great crested flycatcher was already counted, so again, we only have 2 new species, so these 2 don't count. The green heron would be 3, magnolia warbler would be 4, mealy parrot would be 5, olive-throated parakeet 6, red-throated ant tanager 7. We cannot count the short-billed pigeon, so we're still at 7. And that's it. So we have 7 new species identified. Okay, and when we add that into the column, you should see that our cumulative will increase by 7. So now we have 26 species identified. Okay, so you're going to keep doing this all the way through. So again, 4, new color, okay, and then go back to the survey, and then go through. Okay, so here we have 1, 2. You start getting used to it, so it makes it a lot easier. So here's 2 new species. That's not a new one. Not a new one, not a new one. 3, that one's not a new one, so we're still at just 2. Not a new one. 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 new species. Okay? So you'll see the species count may, increase, decrease throughout as the surveys go along. Once this is all completed, okay, then you'll move on to gallon jug and do the same thing. Okay, remember you got to go all the way to the top and do the same thing for coxcomb and do the same thing for Punta Gorda. And then once you're completely done, then we're going to go to this graph. Now, this graph has already been set up and formatted for you, so you don't actually need to change this graph in any way. You will need to change this, this chart here. So notice in this chart, look at Belmopan. So Belmopan, it's at 10, 10, 10, 11. Those aren't the numbers that we were using, right? Ours were 10, and then we had 19, and then we had 26, and then I don't remember what the fifth survey was. So we need to upload the new column for cumulative species for Belmopan. So I'm going to go ahead and click my McKinnon data for Belmopan, and I'm going to go ahead and copy this over, okay? So I'm going to right click, copy, okay? And then I'm going to go back to my graph, and I'm going to highlight Belmopan, and I'm going to paste it. Now, make sure that when you paste it, it's the correct value. So if I do this one, notice we have different numbers than what I wanted. If I do just value, I get the values that were inputted in my McKinnon data. And also, once I do this, check out what happens to the graph for Belmopan, the orange line. Okay, so you can see how the graph is adjusted. So again, you don't need to play with the graph in any way. You just need to adjust the numbers in the chart when you're done. So make sure that when you're copying and pasting, the numbers correspond to what you received in your original data set. Okay, so don't make the mistake of copying over and get really weird numbers. Okay, I do see that quite often. All right, so once you've completed that for all 4 sites, then the graph is already done. So there's a couple of ways you can submit your completed graph. You can submit it as an Excel spreadsheet just like this. Okay, so just save it as your own document. So save it and then upload the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, and I can go through and take a look and make sure that the numbers are correct and that the graph is correct. The other option is that you can copy and paste these, just this page into a Word document. So it's not required at this moment in time, but just realize when you do your final project and you submit it in week 7, you're going to be copying and pasting the graph and probably this data chart into your actual project, okay, into your Word document. So again, if you're going to do that, if you want to try it now, just make sure that, when you copy and paste it into a Word document, that it's going to be correctly copied and pasted. So I'm just going to go open up a Word document real quick and see if I can get it to paste correctly. Okay, so sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So hey, look at that, it worked. And it's the correct graph. It's not just the 4 lines going in the same direction. Notice I started out with the Belmopan, and so that data is correct. Okay. In your final project, you're going to include a figure caption. Okay, so a figure caption would be included at the bottom of the graph. So this could be figure 1. And then you'll describe what the actual graph is of. So McKinnon data from 4 sites, blah, 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 something like that. Okay, so that ends up being the graph that you could use in your Word document. All right, so that is all that you need to do. If we go back into our module, once you are ready, you're going to go ahead and click that button and you're going to complete the assignment. And then once you complete the assignment, you can go ahead and upload it for points. If we take a look at the rubric real quick, the rubric is very simple. You get 100%, all 95 points if all of the 4 lines on your graph are accurate. Okay, so that again, you don't need to submit it as a Word document or anything. I'm just going to be looking to make sure that your graph has the correct data points. Okay, so that's it. You earn your 95 points maximum, or 100 points, excuse me, for this. And then, if something's wrong, you have one of them's messed up, then it's going to be a proficient. Occasionally, I give students zeros because their graphs are basically look exactly like how you downloaded it in the first place. Okay, so don't make that mistake where you end up having your graph look you don't copy and paste the numbers correctly, and then your graph looks exactly the same as it did when you opened it in the first at the beginning of the project. Okay, so do make sure that you are correctly importing the data. All right, if you have any questions at all, feel free to post them in the general questions folder. Okay, so on our discussion board, go right in there, or you can email me. Otherwise, good luck.